Jolly had always loved the apartment she inherited from her grandmother. It was modest but cozy, filled with memories of laughter, late-night stories, and countless cups of tea. Every corner had a story, every shelf a piece of her past.
Thank you, Jolly.
But that peace had been disrupted ever since her brother Rohan had married Mira. Jolly had welcomed Mira with open arms at first, hoping for a bond between sisters-in-law. But over time, subtle things started to feel invasive. Mira had a habit of moving Jolly's things, rearranging furniture for better feng shui, and insisting that the apartment be open for family gatherings whenever she felt like it. It wasn't malicious, at least Jolly didn't think so, but it was relentless. One Saturday morning, Jolly walked into her living room and froze. Mira was rearranging the bookshelf. Again, "Jolly, look. I thought your books would look better organized this way," Mira said cheerfully, stacking novels in a pattern that made no sense. Jolly's fingers twitched. "Mira, I like them the way they were." Mira waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, don't be so picky. It's just a small change. Honestly, I'm just trying to make the place more welcoming." Jolly clenched her jaw but forced a smile. "I appreciate that. But this is my home. I'd like to keep some things as they are." Mira shrugged and continued. Jolly felt a tight knot form in her chest. This was the 5th time this month. Each time, Mira's help felt more like an intrusion. That evening, Jolly sat on the sofa, trying to relax. But the sense of being invaded lingered. She recalled the advice her mother had once given: "A home is yours, and it's okay to set boundaries. Protect what is yours with respect, but don't back down." Jolly realized it was time. She could no longer quietly accept Mira taking over her space. She needed to assert herself, not aggressively but firmly. The next day, Jolly invited Mira for tea, making it clear she wanted to talk. "Mira, I value our relationship, but I need to discuss something important." Mira tilted her head curiously. "Sure, Jolly, what's up?" Jolly took a deep breath. "I love having you around, but sometimes it feels like my personal space is being overlooked. When you rearrange things or assume access to the apartment at any time, it makes me uncomfortable. This is my home and I need it respected." Mira blinked, clearly surprised. "Oh, I didn't realize. I was just trying to help." "I know you were," Jolly said gently, "and I appreciate it, but helping doesn't mean taking over. I want us to have boundaries so we can respect each other's space." Mira paused, then nodded slowly. "I understand. I'll be more mindful." It seemed like a small victory, but Jolly knew this was just the beginning. Mira's tendencies didn't vanish overnight, and Jolly had to prepare herself for moments when she might have to stand firm. That night, Jolly walked through her apartment, looking at the shelves, the furniture, the corners that held her memories. She whispered to herself, "This is mine. I won't back down. Respect starts here." Jolly thought the conversation with Mira had settled things, but reality proved otherwise. Within a week, subtle intrusions began again. Mira would leave her shoes scattered in Jolly's hallway, borrow items without asking, or suggest furniture rearrangements for a better flow. Jolly felt her patience stretch thin. She realized that Mira wasn't malicious. She just didn't fully respect boundaries yet, but respect was earned, not assumed. One evening, Jolly returned from work to find Mira in the kitchen, sipping tea and casually flipping through her recipe books. "Hey, Jolly, I thought I'd try something new for dinner." "Don't worry, I didn't touch anything else," Mira said brightly. Jolly paused, taking in the scene. Her grandmother's cookbook lay open on the counter, pages marked and bent. Her grandmother's cherished notes were smeared with tea. "Mira, please don't use my grandmother's recipes like this without asking," Jolly said, her voice calm but firm. Mira blinked. "Oh, I didn't think it was a big deal. I just wanted to make something special for Rohan." Jolly inhaled slowly. "I get that, but these books have sentimental value. I need them to be respected." You can borrow the digital version or I can help you find a replacement. Mira hesitated, realizing the impact of her actions. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Jolly. I didn't mean to upset you. Later that night, Jolly reflected on the day. It wasn't just about recipe books or furniture. It was about respect, boundaries, and personal space. She realized that standing firm didn't make her rude or difficult. It made her clear, confident, and self-assured. The next morning, she decided to take proactive steps. She drafted a list of rules, gentle but firm, for shared spaces, and sent it to Mira. Mira, I hope we can have a comfortable arrangement. Here are a few guidelines to keep things harmonious. Mira responded with a hesitant smiley face emoji, followed by, got it, I'll follow them. That evening, Jolly invited Rohan over to discuss Mira's behavior. She wanted to make sure he understood her perspective without turning it into a confrontation. Rohan, I know you love Mira, Jolly began, and I want her to feel welcome, but sometimes she crosses boundaries. I need you to back me up so we can have mutual respect in the home. Rohan raised an eyebrow. Jolly, Mira isn't trying to upset you. Maybe you're overreacting? Jolly shook her head. It's not about anger, Rohan. It's about boundaries. If I ignore this now, it'll only get worse. I need her to respect my space. Rohan hesitated, then sighed. Okay, I'll talk to her, but maybe give her time to adjust. The next weekend, Mira came over with her usual charm. She started to move decorative items around in Jolly's living room, humming cheerfully. Jolly stepped in calmly. Mira, remember the guidelines we discussed? Mira froze, a faint blush on her cheeks. Oh, I thought I could just... Any changes to my personal space need to be discussed with me first, Jolly said firmly. I know you're trying to help, but this is about respect. Mira hesitated, then nodded. Okay, I understand. I'll follow your rules. For the first time, Jolly felt a true sense of victory. She hadn't yelled or forced the issue. She had asserted herself clearly and confidently. That evening, Jolly confided in her best friend over the phone. It's been a battle of patience, but I feel like I'm finally being heard, she said. Her friend laughed. Good for you. Most people let things slide, but you're standing your ground. I know, Jolly replied, and honestly, it feels empowering. I always wanted to be assertive, but I never knew how. Now I finally do. A few days later, Mira approached Jolly quietly. I wanted to thank you for being patient with me. I realize I was overstepping. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Jolly smiled warmly. I know, and I appreciate you understanding. We both want a harmonious home. It's about respect and communication. Mira nodded, and for the first time there was no tension, no subtle rivalry, just mutual acknowledgement. That weekend, Jolly hosted a small family dinner. Mira was invited, but she followed all the guidelines, contributing without encroaching on Jolly's space. The evening passed smoothly, with laughter, stories, and genuine connection. Jolly realized that standing firm hadn't created conflict. It had fostered respect. She had proven to herself and to Mira that boundaries mattered, and that it was possible to coexist harmoniously without sacrificing self-respect. By the end of the week, Jolly felt a renewed sense of ownership over her home. She understood that being assertive didn't mean being hostile. It meant protecting what mattered, while allowing others to feel included. And as she looked around the apartment, everything in its place, she whispered to herself, "This is my space." I didn't back down, and I never will. A month had passed since Jolly had firmly set her boundaries, and things seemed to be improving. Mira appeared more cautious, following the guidelines, and even complimented Jolly on her home decor choices instead of rearranging everything. But peace rarely lasted long. One Friday evening, Rohan called, sounding flustered. "Jolly, Mira wants to throw a surprise party at your apartment next week. She says it'll be fun and intimate, just close friends. Jolly's brow furrowed. A party? At my apartment? After all the boundaries we've established? I know. But she insists. She said it's important for her friends to meet everyone in a comfortable setting, Rohan said defensively. Jolly exhaled slowly. She realized this was a test. Mira was pushing boundaries again. And this time it wasn't just subtle, it was public. The next day, Mira dropped by with a bag of decorations. Jolly, I hope you'll love my ideas. I just want everything to look perfect for the party, she said, spreading streamers across the coffee table. Jolly took a step forward, hands on her hips. Mira, we need to discuss this. You can't just decide to throw a party here without asking me first. My space, my rules. Mira's smile faltered slightly. Oh, I thought it'd be fine. It's just for a few friends. Just a few friends still means disrupting my home and ignoring the boundaries we set, Jolly said firmly. If you want to host a party, you need to find another space or come to me with a proper plan. Mira blinked. You're serious? Absolutely, Jolly said. This is my home. I won't compromise my space for anyone, even for a surprise. That afternoon, Rohan arrived unexpectedly, sensing the tension. What's going on here? He asked, seeing the decorations strewn across the living room. Mira wants to throw a party here without asking, Jolly explained calmly. I told her no, she needs to respect my space. Rohan frowned. Jolly, she didn't mean any harm. It's just a small party. Jolly shook her head. It's not about harm, it's about respect. We've talked about boundaries. If she ignores them, it sets a precedent for everything else. Rohan sighed. I get it. I'll talk to her. Mira, however, wasn't ready to back down completely. That evening she texted Jolly, Jolly, I really wanted this. Can we compromise? Maybe we just move a few things and it'll be fine. Jolly stared at the screen for a moment, then typed back firmly. No compromise. My home, my rules. If you want a party, you'll have to host it somewhere else. The words were concise, clear, and left no room for negotiation. It was the first time Jolly felt fully confident asserting herself against Mira's persistent intrusions. The day of the supposed party arrived, and Mira came over to check the apartment under the guise of being helpful. She attempted to move cushions, rearrange chairs, and hang some banners. Jolly stepped in, voice calm but firm. Mira, I already told you no. Stop moving things. My space isn't available for the party. I won't argue further. Mira hesitated, frustration and embarrassment flickering across her face. You're being unreasonable. No, Jolly said clearly. I'm being respectful. To myself. That's not unreasonable. If you want your party, find another space. Simple as that. Rohan arrived mid-morning, sensing a confrontation brewing. Okay, what's happening now? Jolly didn't back down. Mira is attempting to override boundaries we've already agreed on. I've asked her to stop. My answer is final. Rohan sighed, realizing this wasn't a matter of opinion, it was a principle. All right, Mira, listen to Jolly. She's right. This is her apartment. We'll find another venue for the party. Mira looked between them, realizing she had pushed too far. She finally nodded, cheeks flushed. Okay, I'll figure something else out. That evening, Jolly sat in the quiet apartment, reflecting on the day. The victory wasn't in a shouting match or confrontation. It was in staying firm, consistent, and calm. She realized that boundaries weren't a one-time statement. They had to be enforced, sometimes repeatedly, until they became respected. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Mira. Jolly, I'm sorry. I know I overstepped. I'll make sure this doesn't happen again. Thanks for standing your ground. Jolly smiled softly. Respect isn't always easy, but it's worth it, she whispered. The following week, Mira approached Jolly again, this time with a more respectful tone. Jolly, I wanted to thank you for being honest with me. I realize I've been too pushy. I promise I'll respect your space from now on. Jolly nodded, feeling a sense of closure. Thank you, Mira. I appreciate that. I want us to have a good relationship, but it has to be based on respect. For the first time, she felt that mutual understanding was possible. The tension that had dominated their interactions began to fade, replaced by a cautious but genuine cooperation. That weekend, Jolly hosted a quiet family gathering. Her rules, her space, her control. Mira attended but followed every guideline perfectly. Jolly noticed the effort, the restraint, and realized that setting boundaries hadn't just protected her home, it had transformed their relationship. During the evening, Rohan pulled Jolly aside. I have to admit I underestimated you. You were firm, calm, and didn't back down, and you got through to Mira. I'm impressed. Jolly laughed softly. It wasn't easy, but standing your ground is necessary if you want people to respect you, even family. Rohan nodded thoughtfully. You've earned my respect, and hers too. Eventually, by the end of the month, the apartment felt peaceful again. Mira still visited, but there were no surprises, no intrusions, just mutual respect. Jolly had learned an invaluable lesson. Asserting yourself doesn't mean being aggressive, it means being clear, firm, and consistent. She walked through her living room one evening, placing her grandmother's books on the shelves, straightening the cushions, and taking a deep breath. This is my space, she whispered to herself. I didn't back down, and I never will. After the party incident, things began to shift between Jolly and Mira. The tension that had once filled the apartment slowly faded, replaced by a cautious but genuine attempt at understanding. Mira started consulting Jolly before making any changes in the apartment, and Jolly in turn recognized that Mira's intentions were usually good, even if misdirected. One Saturday morning, Jolly was rearranging her plants by the window when Mira walked in, holding a tray of freshly baked muffins. Good morning, Jolly, Mira said cheerfully. I thought I'd bring these as a peace offering. And I wanted to ask, would you like help with the garden? Jolly paused, studying her carefully. There was sincerity in Mira's tone this time, not the casual dismissal or overconfidence from before. Thank you, Mira, Jolly replied cautiously. I appreciate the gesture. And yes, you can help, but let's decide together where each plant goes, okay? Mira nodded eagerly. Absolutely. As they worked side by side, arranging pots and adding fresh soil, Jolly noticed the shift. Mira listened more, suggested ideas respectfully, and waited for guidance rather than acting on impulse. For the first time, Jolly felt that her personal space could coexist with her sister-in-law's presence. See, Jolly said, smiling, this is how collaboration works. Mutual respect, communication, and patience. Mira grinned. I'm learning. Honestly, I didn't realize how important this was to you until now. I want to get it right. That afternoon, Rohan stopped by to check on the progress. He noticed the cooperative atmosphere and smiled. Wow, this is different. No arguments, no tension. You two actually seem to be getting along. Jolly laughed softly. It took time, Rohan. Boundaries had to be respected first. Once that happened, collaboration became possible. Mira added, I really appreciate Jolly being patient with me. I was pushy before, but now I understand how important it is to ask first. Rohan shook his head, impressed. I'm proud of both of you. This is real teamwork. Over the next few weeks, Jolly and Mira continued to build a cooperative relationship. Mira even offered to host a small family brunch in the apartment, fully respecting all of Jolly's guidelines. Jolly agreed, seeing the opportunity to strengthen their bond rather than maintain a rigid barrier. The brunch was a success. Friends and family praised the apartment, the decor, and the atmosphere. Mira complimented Jolly's organization and aesthetic sense, while Jolly acknowledged Mira's effort and hospitality. For the first time, Jolly felt that the apartment wasn't just her space, it was a shared space built on respect and cooperation. One evening, Jolly reflected on the journey so far. She realized that asserting herself had not only protected her personal space, but also fostered growth in her relationships. She no longer felt resentment or frustration toward Mira. Instead, there was understanding, collaboration, and trust. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mira. "Jolly, thank you for teaching me patience and respect. I feel like we're finally on the same page." Jolly smiled, typing back, "We've both learned a lot. I'm glad we're working together now." A week later, Jolly invited Mira to help redecorate a small corner of the apartment for the upcoming festive season. Mira approached with care, suggesting ideas only after asking for Jolly's opinion. "This is perfect," Jolly said, as they hung fairy lights together. "See what happens when communication works?" Mira laughed softly. "I get it now. I respect your space, and I can still contribute. Who knew boundaries could be so liberating?" Jolly nodded, realizing how much she had grown in confidence. Standing firm hadn't been easy, but it had taught her self-assurance, patience, and leadership. The following day, Rohan noticed the apartment looked brighter, more harmonious, and commented, "You've really transformed the space, and your relationship with Mira. It's amazing how much difference respect and communication make." Jolly smiled. "It's about standing your ground and being consistent. Respect isn't given, it's earned and maintained, and I've learned that patience works hand in hand with firmness." Rohan chuckled. "I'm proud of you, Jolly. You didn't back down, and look at the results." By the end of the month, the apartment had become a place of harmony. Mira continued to follow Jolly's boundaries, and Jolly remained confident in enforcing them when necessary. Their relationship shifted from tension and rivalry to collaboration and mutual respect. One quiet evening, Jolly sat in her living room, sipping tea and reflecting on the journey. She realized that asserting herself wasn't about conflict or confrontation. It was about valuing her own needs while fostering understanding and cooperation. She glanced at Mira, who was arranging a vase of fresh flowers, and smiled. "We've come a long way," she whispered. Mira turned, smiling back. "We really have, Jolly. Thanks for guiding me without pushing me away." The months following the party incident had transformed the dynamic in Jolly's home. Mira had become genuinely mindful of boundaries, and Jolly's confidence in asserting herself had strengthened. What had started as tension and rivalry evolved into a relationship built on mutual respect and cooperation. One crisp morning, Jolly was arranging her living room, placing family photos on the shelves just so. She heard the soft sound of footsteps, and looked up to see Mira approaching with a tray of tea. "Good morning, Jolly," Mira said warmly. "I made some masala chai. Thought we could have a little chat before the day gets busy." Jolly smiled, genuinely at ease. "Thank you, Mira. I'd love that." The atmosphere was different from even a few months ago. There was no tension, no subtle competition, just calm, respectful interaction. As they sat together, sipping tea, Mira spoke thoughtfully. "I've been thinking a lot about how I behaved when I first came here. I was careless with your space, thinking I was helping, but I realize now that I crossed boundaries too often." Jolly nodded, appreciating the honesty. "I know your intentions were good, Mira, but boundaries are about respect, not blame. You've learned that now, and that's what matters." Mira smiled softly. "And I want to thank you for being firm but patient. You didn't push me away, you guided me." Jolly felt a warmth in her chest. This was the acknowledgement she had longed for, the respect she had fought to establish finally recognized and valued. Later that week, Rohan joined them for a small family lunch in the apartment. The mood was light, laughter flowed freely, and there was a sense of harmony that hadn't existed before. Rohan looked around and said, "I have to admit, I'm impressed. The apartment feels alive, welcoming, and balanced. And Jolly, you've handled everything with such poise. I couldn't be prouder." Jolly felt a blush rise to her cheeks. "Thanks, Rohan. It wasn't easy, but I learned that standing firm doesn't mean being aggressive. It means being clear, consistent, and respectful." Mira reached over and added, "And I've learned to skay, listen, and collaborate. This apartment feels like home now, for all of us." That evening, Jolly walked through the living room, noting how each corner reflected their growth. Her grandmother's cherished books were carefully placed. The furniture was arranged to her liking, and Mira had even added tasteful touches without overstepping. Jolly realized something profound. Her space wasn't just about furniture or objects. It was about respect, trust, and understanding. By standing her ground, she had created a home where both she and Mira could feel valued. A week later, the family decided to host a small festive celebration. This time, Jolly took the lead in planning. She invited Mira to collaborate, and Mira followed the guidelines respectfully, contributing without imposing. The evening was a success. Friends and relatives complimented the apartment, the decor, and the atmosphere. Jolly felt a quiet pride, knowing that her assertion and patience had transformed the home into a space of harmony rather than conflict. Rohan pulled Jolly aside and said softly, "You've done more than protect your space. You've taught everyone about respect and cooperation. I couldn't be prouder to call you my sister." Jolly smiled, feeling both validated and empowered. It wasn't about winning, she said. It was about being heard and respected. And seeing Mira learn and grow alongside me, that's the real victory. As the weeks passed, the apartment became a symbol of balance and understanding. Mira continued to respect boundaries, and Jolly remained confident in asserting herself when necessary. The relationship between them had evolved from tension and rivalry to friendship and mutual support. One quiet evening, Jolly sat on the balcony, reflecting on the journey. She remembered the early days of frustration, the moments of doubt, and the small victories that had gradually built her confidence. This was never just about furniture or parties, she whispered to herself. It was about respect, boundaries, and standing up for what matters. And I did it. Mira joined her, holding 2 mugs of tea. "You know, Jolly, I feel like we finally found our rhythm. I respect your space, and I feel included without overstepping. I'm grateful for your patience." Jolly smiled, accepting the mug. "And I'm grateful for your willingness to change. It wasn't easy, but we did it together. That's what makes this home feel like a real home." They clinked their mugs lightly, a gesture of understanding, trust, and newfound friendship. In the weeks that followed, Jolly noticed subtle but meaningful changes. Mira often checked in before making any alterations, offered genuine compliments instead of criticism, and even sought Jolly's advice on small matters. The home was no longer a battleground. It was a cooperative space, filled with laughter, warmth, and mutual respect. Rohan, observing the change, commented one evening, "It's amazing how much difference clear boundaries and communication make. You've both grown so much." Jolly nodded, feeling a sense of accomplishment beyond any physical or material. Reward. It wasn't about winning or losing, she said. It was about standing firm, respecting ourselves, and learning to respect each other. And that's something that lasts forever. The final test came when Mira invited Jolly to help plan her own small corner of the apartment, a reading nook for herself. Mira suggested ideas but carefully asked for Jolly's opinion before doing anything. Jolly guided her with gentle suggestions, and Mira executed them beautifully. As they stepped back to admire the space, Jolly realized the journey had come full circle. What began as conflict, frustration, and intrusion had transformed into collaboration, respect, and genuine friendship. "This is perfect," Jolly said softly. "We've created a space that's ours together." Mira smiled, eyes warm. "And I've learned so much about patience, respect, and communication." "Thank you, Jolly." Jolly smiled back, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "No, thank you, Mira, for listening, learning, and growing with me. That's the true victory." That night, as Jolly reflected on the journey, she realized that standing her ground hadn't just protected her apartment. It had transformed relationships, built respect, and strengthened her own confidence. She knew that life would bring challenges, but she was ready. Her space, her rules, and her self-respect were secure. And the bonds she had nurtured along the way, friendship, family, and understanding, were stronger than ever. For Jolly, this was more than victory. It was empowerment, harmony, and lasting peace. More stories will keep coming, so please don't forget to like and subscribe.